I found out my best friend has been lying to me for over 7 years and actually despises my marriage to my husband, and he wishes it could have been him. I'm struggling with figuring out how to start this, so I guess I'll just start with context. Obligatory apology for mobile and long post. I'll try to keep it semi-brief, but there's a lot. I, 28F, have been friends with Blake, 28M, for about 10 years now. We met when I was traveling for a new job out of state, and I kid you not, we immediately became best friends in the week that I was there. Same interests, great energy and conversation, we just clicked. We were friends for nearly 2 years before trying the dating thing. It lasted 3 months, important, during which Blake did not treat me well due to unresolved issues from prior relationships. Before I could end it, he decided to end it himself, as he had feelings for someone else. Fine with me, we were clearly better as friends. I took some space because he hadn't been treating me well. He got into therapy and apologized for being crappy, and was willing to put in the work to regain my trust for our friendship, which he did, consistently, over the 8 years since. Fast forward to now, I'm now happily married to my wonderful husband Cam, 28M, together for 6 years, married for 2 years. Blake and I are still best friends. He and his ex, after our brief dating stint, broke up, and he is now with a wonderful woman, Kaylee, 21F, for almost 2 years now, started dating a few months before my wedding. This is important. Kaylee and I are also good friends, she's the sweetest person. Blake also lives in the same city as me now, after his mother passed, having moved down here for a better support network. His girlfriend moved in about 9 months ago. In the past 6 months or so, things have been strained with Blake. My husband is very introverted, and Blake started voicing frustration about his inability to be closer friends with Cam and feeling like he bothers Cam. He and I also started having weird tiffs, kind of subtle negged/belittling comments, etc. Then my husband and I came over to a game night for Blake's birthday 3 months ago, during which Blake picked fights with me about very weird things, for example, my career path and how I'm going about it wrong, making comments like, I guess if you want to stunt yourself in life, you can do it that way, etc. Both Cam and I were caught very off guard, and after several attempts to shut it down, we made excuses and headed home. Later, Blake proceeded to send me a text asking if I was okay because the vibes felt off. To which I was like, no kidding, and explained my issue. He decided to reply with an email, 8 long paragraphs about how he felt he and his experience/knowledge were dismissed in our discussion, how he felt ganged up on when Cam would defend my side, and how he felt like he can't be himself around me and Cam anymore. He also made comments voicing that he didn't feel like he could trust me because I tell Cam everything. Not true, I always ask before sharing unless it's a danger or moral issue, and that he thinks I'm unhealthily codependent on Cam because whenever Blake and I hang out one-on-one, I'm always calling to let Cam know how late I'll be out or to check if I'm cool to pick up takeout. We're married with joint finances. I replied trying to clarify my end as well as understand where the ever-loving hell this all was coming from, but no matter how many times I tried, we kept going in circles. The emailing back and forth, during which he demanded we not meet up until this was resolved, lasted until about 2 weeks ago, when I said I needed time to think about how to reply next. About a month ago, I got into therapy because it was seriously messing with my head and making me feel like I was the problem and like I couldn't talk to anyone about this because we share much of our support system. I finally broke down to my sister when she came over to see why I hadn't been answering her, or really anyone, hella anxiety issues, lately. She is also friends with Blake through me. I let her read the emails, and she got pretty ticked on my behalf, and then proceeded to drop a hell of a bombshell on me and Cam. Blake is apparently still in love with me and hates Cam's guts. Apparently, when she drove to pick up Blake out of state for our wedding, he was a groomsman. He confided in her and her husband that he didn't agree with the wedding and wished I would break up with Cam and give him another chance. That we're soulmates and Cam isn't the one for me. Blake has heard me talk since day one about how happy Cam makes me and how safe and loved I feel with him. My sister shut it down, but, even better, Blake proceeded to do the same thing when she drove him back home after our wedding. He ended off saying he just needed some time, so my sister kept her mouth shut because she knew that he's my best friend and hoped she could trust him to resolve it over time since he lived far away. Blake then moved near me about a year ago, and Kaylee moved in the August after. My husband's and my wedding anniversary is in October, and apparently Blake called my sister's husband too, again, confide that he's still in love with me and wishes I would divorce Cam because he would be a better husband to me, while living with Kaylee, who he's told me is his soulmate. This was about when all the stress started, so she never found a good moment to bring it up. As if to ice the cake, Kaylee and I have been keeping up via text through all this. Again, we're friends. During the past few weeks, I've learned some odd things. Kaylee got new piercings, reportedly encouraged by Blake to do so because she'd look so cute, a double nose piercing and septum, which, possibly coincidentally, Blake took me to get as a post-wedding gift 2 years ago. Blake apparently has beef with the month of August and has decided their anniversary will be in October. The reason he gave was because it's spooky month, but Cam and I started dating and got married that month. I also, at my sister's prompt, went back and checked when Blake and I broke up, August 2017. Again, possibly coincidental, but it feels very odd as I don't know why else he would have an issue with that month. It's also worth noting Blake had another relationship fall apart because the girl was outright convinced Blake was cheating on her with me to the point of blasting me for weeks as some homewrecker. Cam and I always chalked it up to her insecurity, but now I'm wondering if she was just watching Blake carry on some weird, one-sided emotional affair. I love my husband more than words can say, and he makes me happier than anyone I've ever met. He's my ultimate best friend. Learning all this has made me feel so gross and like a horrible wife, though Cam has been wonderfully supportive and doesn't blame me at all. All this to say, I'm ending our friendship, but have no clue how. I feel like I have to tell Kaylee, as this has all happened during their relationship and while living together, and the woman deserves the world. But I also recognize I have no real proof beyond spoken accounts besides the weird emails. It sounds like some wild conspiracy theory or soap opera. My therapist is on vacation, so I'm on my own after learning all this. I'm also realizing just how manipulative Blake has been for years given this context, and already feel shaky about confronting him given my serious confrontation anxiety, which he knows about and could easily try to exploit. I'm realizing more and more that he has massive control issues that I dismissed as anxiety for years. The fact that he lives so close now fills me with dread rather than joy. I want to come out of this with no regrets, knowing I stood up for myself and that I put a decisive end to this. I want Blake to know his actions and creepy ulterior motives are the reason our decade-long friendship is dead. I've never ended a friendship myself, also a bit of an introvert, and this is basically a friend breakup on steroids. How do I break this lunacy to Kaylee in a way that sounds remotely believable given the front Blake has built? I also would love some advice on how to go about telling Blake I know everything and we're absolutely done. /relevant comments. Additional info from op. So, I'm working right now and not replying to other comments until later due to time constraints, but I thought some clarifications might help given this comment. 1. There is no sexual past. Blake and I did not sleep together. Again, this was only a 3-month relationship. Not everyone hooks up. The most we ever did was kiss a few times upon visiting due to long distance, and again, this was 8 years ago. 2. This isn't the only friend I've briefly dated that I'm still in touch with. Hell, Cam actually does have a close friend that he also dated back when he was in college for about 6 months as well. She and I are really close, and Cam and I are godparents to her child. Genuinely, both of us are very secure in our relationship and don't take issue with it. We're also both into all genders, so opposite gender doesn't really mean much to us in terms of friendships. It's all just people. 3. My sister and I are in talks over this. I didn't feel it was relevant to include in the post, but I will here. I let her know how upset I was over her keeping this from me, and she broke down apologizing for it and recognizes she messed up. She also has severe anxiety and thought it had resolved until the second time Blake reached out to her husband, during which time she was going through a lot personally. She was intending to tell me the next time we spoke, around the time I fell off communicating from the stress of it all. We're working through this separately. As for your summary, having gotten a restraining order on a different ex, I know it's not very easy to get one. I will definitely do so if I have to, but jumping straight to that doesn't seem feasible. The cop scare tactic is definitely not a bad idea to keep in my pocket, though, thank you. As for your frankly polarizing view on myself and my marriage, I didn't come here to ask for advice or opinions on my marriage. My husband has been amazing and very adamant that I know he is mad at Blake for being a creepy, lying jerk, not at me. He knows full well that I have eyes only for him and has never once doubted that, before or after all this. You can think whatever you want of me or my marriage, but I did want to throw that out there. The feeling like a terrible wife I mentioned is because I feel like I've been blind this whole time, especially as I fully acknowledge how cliché this all sounds. Whether that's true or not, I know my marriage is solid and secure, and I in no way spat in anyone's face. Update 1 day later. Well, I was definitely not expecting to be making an update/follow-up post when I made my original post. Admittedly, my original post blew up far more than I ever anticipated. I've made many posts on various accounts and subreddits over the years, including this one, and typically I get a handful of kind-hearted Redditors' input before it dies into obscurity lol, so this was definitely new to me. I'm endlessly thankful for all the wonderful people who offered comments of care, support, and advice. Some of the comments were so invaluable, and I can't thank you all enough. I did decide to delete the original post, largely to protect my peace, as it was surprisingly anxiety-inducing to have 500,000 views on one of the most surreal moments of my life, and partially as protection, as there were many specific details that could easily be identified if seen by someone who knows the details IRL. Now that that's aside, the update, I decided to talk to Kaylee after all. I asked to meet up and treated her to coffee and pastries, and then disclosed everything I knew. She listened, even reaching over to hold my hand when she saw me shaking, and thanked me for telling her. In short, she has decided to stay with Blake for now, but is moving forward with this in mind, as is her right to decide. She wants to stay friends with me and fully understands that I want nothing to do with Blake and why, as well as not to share any info about me with him, and that there will be some distance for a bit. This is where you all might yell at me, but I did confront Blake in person. This was mostly due to the fact that I wanted to get it out of the way right after talking to Kaylee without raising alarm bells, and meeting up under the guise of talking it out in person was the easiest way to do that. My husband went with me, though the conversation was just between Blake and myself. I took several safety precautions as well, such as secretly recording the interaction. Initially, Blake started in on classic Darvo, saying he didn't remember saying those things to my sister, etc., and then remembered certain things but in different contexts. He even tried spinning it back on me several times. I shut all that down, as well as any excuses or justifications given, and firmly landed my point that regardless of intent or reasoning, his actions are wildly inappropriate and inexcusable. After dismantling enough of the excuses, he actually offered several apologies owning up to his actions. Whether he meant them or not, I don't know nor care, but it was semi-cathartic for sure. He insists everything with Kaylee is coincidental, but either way, that is between them at this point. The conversation ended with him saying he didn't want to lose our friendship. That he was willing to take a friendship break for a bit, establish better/firmer boundaries. That he feels he's in a better place to be more honest. That now, he was aware of the issue and would pay more care in not breaking my boundaries. I shut him down, saying that ship sailed long ago, and it shouldn't have to take me saying I'm done for him to put effort into respecting me. He then said he'd respect my decision to end our friendship but begged me to at least keep an open mind about possible future reconciliation. I was pretty much done at this point and told him flat out that these are the consequences of his own actions, that I can never trust anything he says or does ever again, and that even if in some alternate universe I was open to that, he would be an acquaintance, and certainly would never, ever be my best or even close friend again. He went quiet and teary-eyed after this, I assume because he knew things were coming to a close. I stood up. He asked me for one last hug. I said no, reached out to shake his hand, and left without looking back. Which felt kind of badass, until I got down the block and around the corner and had the panic attack that had been looming all day lol. Win some, lose some. Overall though, I think this went as well as it could have. I'm not letting my guard down yet, just in case, but it's a relief that it's finally, seemingly, resolved. Admittedly, I'm not doing great, but I know I will be okay. Cam helped me realize I'm basically mourning the death of a decade-long friend. While Blake himself may not be dead, the Blake I knew is, so I'm trying to give myself some grace in processing through this. Cam has decided tonight is reserved for tacos, cake, and video games together for some dopamine, and we're both calling into work tomorrow after this chaos. Thank you again to all those who offered kindness and support on my last post. I don't think I would have had nearly the confidence and composure I had today if not for you all. May your pillow always be nice and cold, your food the perfect temperature, and your life full of joy and peace. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Block him and don't look back. Ops response. I very much did. The funniest thing is, I was almost starting to feel a little bad afterward. He verbally acknowledged and took accountability for much of what happened by the end of the conversation, and while I wasn't regretting my decision, I was feeling a bit guilty for going scorched earth that fast and wondered if things could have improved had I not. Until I got an email this morning because the jerk made a whole new email account to reach out to me from, since he figured I blocked him but he had some things to say. I opened it out of curiosity, and it's, I kid you not, 12 paragraphs about his side of the story, during which he tried to explain/Darvo/gaslight it all away, said things he already admitted to and apologized for never happened, that he was never in love with me in the first place so he wouldn't say that, etc. Everything directly contradicts every apology or admission of guilt during our recorded, lol, conversation, so I know damn well he's not actually sorry or remotely grown from that confrontation. Really reinforced my decision for me. Commenter 2. Do not be surprised if he starts to stalk you and or reaches out to friends about how worried he is about your 1, mental health or 2, Cam's treatment of you. Ops response. I'm not as worried about these, at least the latter, when it comes to reaching out to my friends. My friends know full well that our relationship is healthy as hell. Even my therapist has commented that it's one of the healthiest relationships she's ever seen, which is a nice little brag, not gonna lie, considering the crap I've been through in life, lol, and I genuinely think they'd reach out to me before putting any stock in anything he could come up with. We're kind of the parent friends of our social circle, lol, no kids, we just tend to love and care for our people, especially when they're in need. But regardless, I'm prepared if it does come to that. Especially after that email, I'm in the FAFO stage. Commenter 3. Kaylee, baby, what the hell are you doing? Commenter 4. If this post is real, she's probably housing insecure and staying with an older jerk until she can get a more stable living situation. Hopefully, she actually has an exit strategy, too, because the type of things that go on in someone's life to make them start dating a nearly 30-year-old when they're a teen, and then move in with them before they can legally drink or smoke, usually indicate that they feel like the home they left behind, if it exists, was worse. Sometimes they feel that way because home was worse, sometimes they're misunderstood, sometimes it's something like addiction that pulls people away, or enough mental and emotional abuse that they feel like nobody else will love them and they're incapable of success or happiness without some craphead hanging around. But nobody stays in a situation like that if they have other options and are in a good place psychologically and financially.